guys, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the double shot of Steelers that comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, live, YouTube, and, of course, on our app and website at DK Pittsburgh Sports. Be joined shortly by Chris Halleck. I'm going to bring up with you a subject today that I consider to be terribly uninteresting. I know, right? But we're talking about whether or not TJ Watt is going to remain a Steeler. And when I say we, I mean the collective we, out that door, out everywhere. The Steelers nation is talking about whether or not TJ is going to stay with the Steelers. And I'm having a hard time coming to grips with that, much less taking it seriously. Here's what I have for you on this subject. It's not a whisper here. It's not a rumor there. It's not a word here, a word there. It's about the ending. It's about skipping to the ending. You know the double fast forward arrow where you just go right to the end? TJ's going to sign. TJ's going to sign for a very healthy dollar figure, an extraordinarily healthy dollar figure. He's going to sign for a term that'll allow him to play out the remainder of his career, his brilliant career in a Pittsburgh uniform. TJ is a Steeler. TJ's a Steeler to the bone. Do you remember the reactions that I was having by chance last summer when we were talking about Cam Hayward? If we could do this, if we could manufacture a faux controversy about Cam, we can do it with anybody. Who was the only one you knew who was just laughing through the whole thing? This is how these things end. There's one exception in my time of covering this team. Actually, I think there's one exception in my time of following this team in any capacity. And that was when the rocket scientist running back listened to his rocket scientist agent and totally lost his mind. Meaning the running back did. The agent didn't have a mind to begin with. The agent had convinced the running back that the running back was also a wide receiver and that he should be paid for two positions because he actually also catches the football. And he's also, I still can't believe that whole thing happened. I still can't believe the Le'Veon Bell mess happened, but it did, because there's always an exception to something like that. But that's it. That's it. Everybody else who wanted to stay here and be a Steeler, and the Steelers wanted that player to stay here and be a Steeler. Every other case, this gets done. It makes for some fun headlines. I'm sure it makes for some additional sales and clicks and whatever else when it comes to news pieces. But it's going to happen. TJ's going to sign. The Steelers have the cap space. The Steelers have the will. The player has the capability to continue excelling, and he has the will to want to be here. And there's really just nothing else to this. Now, why are you talking about it if it's not a big deal? Why are you doing it? I'm just trying to get it out of the way. Okay? Like, if there's something that everybody's talking about and I don't talk about it at all, I at least try to explain at some point or other why it isn't coming up here. It's just not interesting at all. When we come back, we will be joined by Chris and, I don't know, maybe not talk about this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Hi, Chris. The response here from Steelers South wins totally. Says TJ ignored his agent last time, didn't he? Oh, okay. You got me on that one. Depending on the extent to which you believe the whole narrative of how that ended up getting portrayed, that TJ just stormed away from his agents and went on Art Rooney's door on the second floor over there and said, Art, we need to settle this now. I want to be a Steeler. Art said, why, TJ, you come on in here and have a seat. Are they giving you trouble, TJ? TJ said, well, in fact, they are, sir. All I want to do is play for the black and gold for the remainder of eternity. And Art says, how much money would you like? TJ says, not all that much, but let's just have some. So they sign the contract, and the violins and the trumpets are blaring as he ignored his agent last time. You know why he did? Because he wanted to be a Steeler. There's no drama here.
There's no drama. And the other part of this to also consider, and I've reported this previously, but I'll remind everybody for those who might not have heard, there was one person who did not mind the TJ Watt hold-in throughout training camp and preseason. And he just so happens to be named Mike Tomlin. He did not care one bit, because that meant TJ Watt was going to be healthy for the season.
That's one.
He did not care about TJ Watt not taking part in any training camp, in any preseason, anything, and that contract not getting done until 5 days before they play Josh Allen, the Bills in Buffalo in Orchard Park. He did not care, and it will not. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it will not surprise me one bit if we see this play out the same exact way, because Mike Tomlin isn't going to all of a sudden have a change of heart and be like, you know what, TJ Watt needs to be doing all this stuff in training camp and preseason. He's not going to care one bit.
Not in the slightest. And if it's one of those hold-ins where he stands next to Tomlin and Tomlin's just saying, yeah, wow, I'm really worried about TJ getting his reps in. I really wonder if he'll be ready to play. There's just nothing there, man. There's nothing there. Damian Ellswick says, even if TJ beats the Cleveland guy as far as average annual value, that number is going to be more manageable as the cap continues to go up. TJ wants to be here. We want him. End of story. This is a nothing burger. The part that might not be a nothing burger in this is the amount of money that the Browns guaranteed to Myles Garrett. Okay. And if the Steelers say, listen, we can get into the macho-ness of who's paid more between you and Garrett, or we can structure this in a different way where you'll actually end up with more money because of this, and this, but let's lay this thing out in a way that helps the team, that helps you win, say it with me, a playoff game. Oh, no. Nobody respects TJ more than I do, okay? But all is fair in contract negotiations and everything else here. If you say to him, listen, we're trying to do the same thing you're trying to do on the football field, which is to get to the playoffs and win games. Okay, we're trying to do the same thing. You help me, I'll help you, and we have a common da-da-da-da-da. You can do this, and they will do this. That's where there's no... But I do think that the Garrett thing threw everybody a wrench as far as this process went, because now the agent... This is actually where this stuff comes from, by the way. The agents are the ones who say, well, now I'm going to be the representative for TJ Watt, who didn't get as much money as the representative for Myles Garrett did. And I can't be doing business like that.
Well, the other part that everybody needs to remember about this, and I wrote about this, so I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head, but I did write about this maybe a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer, I don't know. But if TJ Watt were to be paid the same exact way he was paid the last time he got a contract extension, in terms of percentage of the cap, he would be getting paid more than what Myles Garrett got in terms of AAV. Like this time around, he'd be getting, I think, like between 42 and 43 million per year on this new contract. Same percentage of the cap that it was heading into the 2021 season. So that just goes to show you, number one, how much the cap has gone up in the last 4 years, because it's gone up a lot, like almost $100 million. So that's another thing to take into consideration, that inflation is not about how much the American dollar goes up in 4 years. It's about how much does the salary cap go up in 4 years. And that will determine the market for edge rushers for any position. And that's why you're going to start seeing edge rushers now start to get paid $40 million a year. And here in probably another 4 years, you might see it jump all the way to $50 million. That's just the way the league is growing. It's one of the most coveted positions in terms of wanting to have a splash star player there. It's just the way it is. And so if TJ gets paid market value, the same way he got paid market value in 2021, he will get paid more than Myles Garrett this time around. It's not an outlandish number.
I see what you're saying. It's not necessarily related to Myles. It's not necessarily a reaction to Cleveland, which should not be anybody's role model in any capacity.
No.
I'm reminded anytime this sort of thing comes up, Craig Patrick, the Hall of Fame general manager of the Penguins' first 2 Stanley Cup championships, had this policy that he put as only he could as it related to the market or what somebody else got paid. And how do you think this will affect Mario's contract or Yager's contracts or whatever? And he would say, we don't give an F what anybody else in the NHL does. We're the Pittsburgh Penguins. And he stuck by that for as long as he could. When the league came along with the salary cap system, it started to be a little bit different. But in this situation, there is no situation. It's going to happen. He's absolutely going to be signed.
Yeah.
And he's going to be an effective player. You know, Denny wants to know, honest question, how long do you think the TJ wants to play beyond this year? Well, how long he wants to play is from, forever and ever and ever. How long can he realistically do that? How many years do you attach to this contract? Which, by the way, is an easy way to circumvent. This is what Chris is talking about. Partly what you're talking about. I understood the market rate and everything is going to be there. The salary cap is going to continue to rise. It's the same reason that you're only the highest paid player at your position at the time you sign.
Yep.
And then like a week later, somebody else passes it. So it's that leapfroggedness about this doesn't necessarily need to be some overbearing thing. How long does he want to play? How long can he play? I'd love to be able to say that the NFL will legislate holding out of the game and create a higher standard for the officials when it comes to holding edge rushers. I don't see that coming because I don't see them, meaning the owners, putting their quarterbacks in greater peril when they're paying those guys $50 million.
Yeah. It's...
You see what I'm saying, Chris? I kind of threw you there. It's kind of like if you're saying that, how long is TJ going to play?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, TJ could play until he's like 38 if they would call holding.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
As it is, he has to be Superman just to overcome what the rules have turned that position into.
Yeah, but the one thing that TJ has for him in terms of playing the position well outside of being a pass rusher is he defends the run really well. That will help in a similar way. Cam Hayward's game, for example, is predicated on strength and not necessarily quickness. Cam's not as quick as he used to be. Like, you can see that on tape, and that just comes with straight up father time. Like, you're not as quick when you're 35 as you are when you're 25. That goes for everybody. But Cam's game is built around being able to just shove guys around, which is he can still do just because he has natural brute strength that he maintains. TJ has a similar type of game. Well, yes, when it comes to rushing the passer, he relies a lot on his speed off the edge. He also has good size and strength to every now and then win in terms of the bull rush or anything like that. Yes. But also he does defend the run really well. He's a smart football player. He knows when to take chances And usually his chances are very calculated, and they're not just, I'm just going to shoot this gap when I shouldn't all the time. Like we see some guys try to do, where sometimes it makes them look brilliant, and other times it really shoots the defense in the foot. But I think his game might age pretty well. But in terms of this contract, it wouldn't surprise me if it's 4 or 5 years. I think that's pretty standard for this type of thing, especially with his age still.
Exactly. Right at that age level. Dwight Jefferson says, Chris and DK, is there a chance that Nick Herbig will be moved to inside linebacker? He's small for edge OLB, a la Jarvis Jones, but his size is similar to that of James Ferrier. Okay, the reason I shook my head, Chris can speak for himself because he was doing the same thing. The reason I shake my head is this has been brought up with the Steelers, and it shoots down so fast.
Every time.
It's like when they launch the ducks or the geese or whatever, right out of the sky. It is just, It's a non-thing. He is not seen as the ILB type. His skill set lends itself to doing exactly what he's doing within the context specifically of pass rushing. Now, you say he doesn't have the size, he's small for edge and whatever, and that's true to an extent. I don't know that I'd go the full Jarvis on him. Okay, Jarvis would just get engulfed. Jarvis would go and line up against an Andrew Whitworth or somebody like that for the Bengals, and they would just eat them alive, and you didn't even know that Jarvis existed in that game.
Yeah,
that is not Herbig. Okay, no. Herbig needs to be a lot better at sealing the edge. I'm not telling you anything he wouldn't say if he was sitting right here next to me. Okay, he needs to be better at sealing the edge. That's his separator. He knows he can get to the backfield. He knows he can generate splash, but that's the part that's missing here. That's the part that's incomplete. It's not about moving him out of position.
No, this does come up every now and then. Not only this particular switch from this is not the first time I know I've been asked about it. I'm sure DK's been asked about it either, about Herbig switching to ILB. It's never a consideration. But to add another part to that, switching positions is not as easy as it sounds. This is not Madden. This is it's not a video game. You can't just move a guy. It's a completely different set of responsibilities. You're learning a completely new position, and the playbook is way more complicated than you think it is. It's just not something you can just do. There are certain positions that lend themselves better to switching. Like maybe if you go from being a safety to an inside linebacker, but it's still just not the same thing whatsoever. And you're talking about an edge rusher, which nowadays is not your traditional outside linebacker in a 3-4 defense. This is more of a defensive end type in a 4-3 defense. That is more what the edge rusher is nowadays, playing up on the line of scrimmage. It is a completely different position than it ever has been in the past.
Now, here's another point. I don't know that this would be a negotiating point because this isn't like an arbitration process where you have to knock the player down. And Jorge says, do you see TJ moving around the line of scrimmage to throw off the strategy of the offensive coordinators? And by that, Jorge's referring to the chips, and they're rare, but they do happen, double teams and so forth that he has to face. I would also throw into this mix that the guys, the tackles, the ones on the edge, are going to be the most adept at holding. So if you want to get away from the guys who are doing most of the holding, get away from those guys. Okay. If I'm Omar Khan, I'm finding ways to have, I don't know, how do you do this without insulting the guy? Have a scenario laid out where you say to TJ, listen, what's wonderful that you've done all of this coming in off the one side. Okay. It's spectacular, really, that you've done it. You've lined up in a predictable spot, and you've still gotten the job done at an extraordinary level. But now, at this stage of where we are, at this stage of where the NFL is in terms of disrespecting edge rushers, we need you to do a little bit more. We need to feel that we're going to get something out of this contract in years 2 and 3 and 4 and however long. So we need to get the sense that there's a real willingness, not a willingness, an eagerness from you to be as effective as you can possibly be from any position. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. No, the one thing that I will say about this entire situation, though, is TJ was very open. Like whenever he spoke to the media at the end of the season, he was very open. He's like, I need to be open to different things. And that included moving around, possibly going to play on, Alex's side, every now and then. Maybe it means lining up straight over the center, whatever it is, moving him around. And yes, even if he doesn't necessarily have success when he's lined up in other positions, if it helps open things up for somebody else, we're not talking about just getting TJ enough sacks so he can be considered for Defensive Player of the Year. This is about getting the Steelers to become a better defense overall. And TJ Watt is their most dangerous weapon. So how can you make the most of that weapon, not only in terms of his actual production, but how his play can also open things up for everybody else? And moving him around could possibly do that. You see that happen. I mean, we don't want to, it's fun to dunk on Cleveland and, all of their mistakes, but they do a really good job of moving Myles Garrett around. That's one of the reasons why he is dangerous. It's not just because he's a freak of nature. It's also because they do a good job of making sure that he's not coming off the same place every single time.
Danny says, hey, DK and Chris, what are some of the differences between week 1 of OTAs and week 2? Even something small. We were not even going to give you that, dude.
Not a thing.
How about different days on the calendar?
The weather?
The weather will be warmer this week than it was last week. Yeah, it's supposed to be. Like, it's still cool out there now, but it's been just absolutely fantastic in Pittsburgh for a while now. It's really, really cool. But this week, you're supposed to see some temperatures in the afternoons make it up to the 80s and so forth, and that's getting a little uncomfortable out there, even with football and shorts. But difference is, we can't say this often enough, and no matter how often we say it, it doesn't seem to sink in. This is not a relevant activity, these OTAs. It's just not. No. It is to the coaches. It means something because they're implementing, not even the playbook. Playbook doesn't even come in, until mini camp. So there's really not much there.
No, I mean, Arthur Smith will still, they still have meetings and everything. He will teach things to the players that are there, but the full install of the playbook doesn't happen until everybody is there. That just makes a lot of sense. So that's just like, why teach it now and then teach it again next week, and talk about full install of the playbook. Next week is going to be, but even then, what we observe on the field next week, even during mandatory minicamp, isn't much different from what we do at OTAs either.
One of the funniest things about every year with minicamp too, I actually will go to the thing, and on my way there, I'm feeling like it's different. Yeah, but this one's mandatory. There's nothing happened. The same uniforms, same shorts, same looking drills. They're pumping the same music out of the speakers. Mm-hmm. It's just the same thing. Nothing changes until about 5-6 days into Latrobe.
Yeah. When the pads come on.
When the pads come on and they line up in the offense versus defense in the middle of the field, you can pick up a little bit of buzz that comes in from the bleachers that are behind us reporters on the sideline, from the crowd at Chuck Noll Field, about 5,000, 6,000 people there at times, and they start getting a little bit fired up, and that's good stuff. That's when the football starts. This isn't it. It's one of the reasons we keep sharing these videos with you. These really boring blah videos that we shoot at these OTAs, and you see like, wow, that really is boring. But I also understand and respect that the people who follow this team very closely, and there are a ton who fall into that category, want to know absolutely everything. Carol says something along the lines of, this was earlier, the Steelers were or are at Kennywood today. Why no insight onto how that went? Who cares? We love you, Carol, but who cares? They rode rides, whatever. They went on the Thunderbolt or There's a Steelers coaster. Yeah, there's a okay.
It's a fun roller coaster, by the way.
Chris went on the Thunderbolt how many times in a row the other day?
3 times in a row because there was no lines because it was like kind of like very, very lightly raining. So it like kept enough people out of the park, but it was still not enough to be like terrible. I'm like, seriously, we rode everything. We rode everything in the span of like 4 hours.
You know what's awesome?
Rode something multiple times. Yeah, it was fun.
When you're at Kennywood, like when you have one of those all day passes and you're younger,
yeah,
and you just feel like you're just abusing the privilege. You're just going to ride everything until whatever, and you get to the point where you go, I'm going to ride this ride entirely with my eyes closed. I want to feel the curves coming before they come.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get that point on some of the shorter, quicker rides like the Jackrabbit, extent to the Racer, but you can do it on a Thunderbolt, which is a long coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in terms of that's a global scale. The Thunderbolt is a long coaster, and it's definitely one of the longer wooden coasters in the world. And by the way, if you're just on a wooden coaster, don't even talk to me. Okay, just keep that out. Okay. Including the ones that they have at Kenny with the metal coasters. You don't fear death.
Yeah.
On a metal coaster. You just don't.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not fearing death, if you're not really thinking this is it, this is going to be my last thing in life that I ever do, you're not really experiencing anything. Okay. But you get to the point where you're like, all right, I can now feel the second turn. Now you also, by doing that though, you lose the decapitation effect. Closing your eyes. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Riding the Phantom's Revenge and you go underneath the Thunderbolt. You think you're going to lose your head every time.
Every time. No matter how many times you've done it, you could be 7'10", you can be 5'2". You are convinced that you're about to have no head.
Yeah.
You're already making plans for how are they going to recover my head down there in the ravine.
Yeah, from the Mon, yeah.
Who's going to go down there in the Kennywood Head Patrol to go pick up my head whenever it gets cut off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cody brings up like Texas Giant. That's at Six Flags in Six Flags over Texas in Arlington. That's that one. Actually, I think somebody actually died riding that roller coaster. By the way.
Yes. When you have to stop with the jokes.
Yeah.
See how you just killed the whole conversation?
Yeah, I just killed it.
Cody Craven brings us back on track. Says, could you see the Steelers putting their foot down on waiting for, and I hate that AR has become Aaron Rodgers as opposed to Art Rooney, but okay, on waiting for Aaron Rodgers and closing that door. Sadly, I think they're going to wait for him all the way up to training camp. I'm not in the business of making predictions in general. I'm certainly not going to make one with this. I can restate with additional emphasis and energy every single day that it becomes more embarrassing. Every single day it's more embarrassing that the Steelers are allowing themselves to just be. This is held hostage. This is the stuff that Mike Tomlin was ripping Le'Veon Bell about, the hostages, volunteers, whatever. The Steelers are sitting there waiting for him. They'll wait all summer. I have no reason to believe otherwise. There's been nothing other than Art Rooney saying a couple of times, well, we won't wait forever or whatever. Oh, okay, that's good. So, not until the sun flares out.
Well, the one thing I'd say about being held hostage is it's hard to be held hostage if you're voluntarily doing it. They are actively volunteering in terms of we're willing to wait. It's like that's not like sitting there and waiting for Rodgers to just make up his mind. You can cut the cord at any point. You can just say, all right, screw this. We're not doing this game anymore. I think based off of what Mike Tomlin actually said, and this was during the NFL annual meeting, the line of demarcation is the start of training camp. He needs everybody in there, who's going to be on the team there at training camp, especially when it comes to something as important as the quarterback position. I think that whenever they get to day one in Latrobe, their entire quarterback room is going to be there. They're not going to be still waiting for Aaron Rodgers. By that time, they will have decided yay or nay if Rodgers hasn't decided yay or nay. I do know that they are working on contingency plans in case Aaron Rodgers does not work out, but I think next week is a really, really big week in terms of that development because that's when
he's not signed. He doesn't have to be anywhere.
He doesn't have to be.
This isn't like TJ or whatever. He's not signed. He's not a Steeler.
He doesn't have to be there. You're like, and that's why, like, during OTAs, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal if Aaron Rodgers isn't there, because even if he wasn't on the team, he still wouldn't have to be there. But if you are going to be on this team, this is the minicamp is the first time the entire team has to meet ahead of the season. You would like for your entire team to be there at minicamp, even if because if TJ Watt is going to hold in, he still has to be there. And if he chooses to not be there, he's going to pay a fine for it. You know, that's why I'm saying, like, even though he's not on the team right now, even though he's not on the roster, you'd still like if you're going to be our quarterback, you need to be there. Like, you need to be signed. So if he's not there by minicamp, then I'm starting to have my doubts whether he's actually going to do it.
See, I'm gonna throw this a little bit further here. Okay, when you're talking about preparedness in the year 2025 for professional athletes, we are miles and miles past the generation where the players, and I'm not talking about football, I'm talking about every sport.
Yeah.
Really, with the exception of baseball, because spring training has been mandated since time immemorial. But you would use the training camp itself to get into game shape. Like, that's when you'd come in, you'd have the summer, you'd go do your thing and whatever, but you'd come in and go, all right, time to get to work.
Nope.
Okay. In football, you take about a month off after the season ends. You heal up. You'll hear this from everybody. They'll bounce around the world a little bit, and then they're over there again. In football's case, you don't even really leave the facility much. Okay, they're here. They live here year round. The Steelers more than our other two teams put together. The Steelers have permanent residence here in Pittsburgh because they really can't leave. If TJ holds out of a training camp setting, okay, or holds in or whatever, you're not worried about him because you know him.
Yeah.
And you know what kind of shape he's in. He's a monster or whatever else here. The 41/42-year-old quarterback, you have no idea.
Yep.
You have no idea. What are you going to do? Get on the phone and call the Jets and say, hey, what kind of shape was he in?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to just commit blindly 20, 30 million, whatever it is to him. The whole thing is so stupid. It's just so stupid. And it has to stop. You know?
Yeah.
Build with guys that are right there in front of you who are committed to the cause, who are there.
Yeah, and that's again. I think if Aaron Rodgers signs before minicamp, if he is signed under contract and present 8 days from now, I don't think that by the time we get to September, October, November, that what happened during the offseason is going to be as big of a deal as it is right now.
Agree with that.
Regardless of how the team performs. Unless they are like 1-7 by the time, the end of October is coming around or whatever, which I highly doubt that ever happens just under a Mike Tomlin coach team. But I just really, really don't think that. I think right now it's a pain in the butt because people, even like myself, just want it to be done. I have a pre-written story on Aaron Rodgers.
Enough about you and your pre-written story that you have
rewritten that thing like 25 times by now.
Where's my little violin here?
Everybody's tired of talking about it. I know you're tired of talking about it. Everybody's tired of talking about it.
But here's the thing. If you get to next week, okay, and he's not signed, minicamp is 3 whole days. All right. This isn't some excessive thing, right? And it's by the time that it's done, I believe that's June
12th.
Was it 12 through?
Yeah. No, 10 through 12.
10 through 12. 10 through 12. Okay. Let me clue, if you're new to football or summertime football, let me clue you in on something. After June 12 and between June 13 and the 3rd week of July, a 5-week span, when the Steelers actually show up in Latrobe, The amount of football activity that occurs is this.
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a stone cold, rock hard Pirates in last place 0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's how firm that 0 is.
Yeah.
Even the coaches go on breaks, and coaches live in their offices. NFL coaches, they have beds. They don't go home at night. Okay. These are, I'd say this lovingly, but they're the ultimate losers. Like, they have no lives, no nothing. They just sit there. Even they disappear for these 5 weeks. So now what you're doing is you're banking on Mr. 41, 42-year-old quarterback to just be ready and raring to go and set to earn his $20-30 million by just showing up in Latrobe. Hey, everybody, it's me.
Yeah.
How?
Well, again, I think that's why you'd like for him to be signed by minicamp, and I don't know if that's the actual day that, or like, again, like Mike Tomlin's line of demarcation might be different than Art Rooney's. Art Rooney might have been saying, all right, I'm willing to give you this much leeway when it comes to waiting on this stuff, but if he's not signed by this date, sorry, we got to move on. We got to go call the Falcons about Kirk Cousins. We got to go, explore some other option, and we're just going to roll with Mason. Whatever it is, like, there is a line of demarcation. They just might not have actually said it yet, but I do think it is the start of training camp.
And nobody other than my man Denny here and a couple others, I shouldn't say nobody, ever takes this concept seriously. If you bet on Mason and he works out, ... Before we even read the rest of Denny's question, it's not like there isn't precedent for this. Mm-hmm. It's not like there isn't precedent for a quarterback of his age finally getting his opportunity, finding his comfort level, having the offense built around his skill set and what he can do. Then he says, you're set here for at least 4 years. Maybe it doesn't have to be 4. Maybe you're set for a couple that buys you time for either Will Howard or whoever you'd get in next year's draft. But if you bet on Mason and he works out, is a scenario. Mm-hmm. It is not one that you just go, oh, no way. And that's the scenario that I've been pushing all along, because I happen to believe that it's the best one for the Steelers' future. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that there's anything to gain from having some sort of 2025 where you're pretending you're going for the Super Bowl or whatever,
Yeah, but I mean, I think, if the plan all along, the long-term plan is to draft your franchise quarterback in 2026, then I think they're thinking of it, and not saying, whether it's right or wrong, is let's give ourselves the absolute best chance to try to compete in 2025, because what if Patrick Mahomes goes down with an ACL tear in week 1 and the Chiefs are kind of out of it at that point? What if we get favorable matchups in the playoffs? What if, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens upset, the Bills in this week, and then all of a sudden we're playing the Ravens in the AFC Championship, and while that's not an easy task, it's at least the Ravens. We know them, they know us, blah, 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 all that stuff we always hear, and then they get lucky, You never know. I mean, even the last time the Steelers won the Super Bowl, everybody kind of wants to forget about the fact that was also the year that Tom Brady missed the entire season because of a torn ACL. Well, you didn't have to worry about playing Brady and the Patriots in the playoffs. If they had that roadblock in their way, did they actually win the Super Bowl? It doesn't matter now. Mm-hmm. So who knows? Who knows how the dice is going to roll? And so I think that's why they want to have the ceiling as high as possible, and they believe Rodgers is the guy.
We'll take a couple more today. James Foreman says, do we really think the Steelers are just waiting without staying in contact with Rodgers? And do you think that he doesn't know how to keep physical shape on his own? Okay, those are two very separate questions and issues, and we'll address each one of them. I've got the first one, Chris. Mm-hmm. Do we really think the Steelers are just waiting without? No. He has said, Rodgers has said on his various, shows that he's on, mm-hmm. that he is staying in touch with Mike. So yeah. It's just that's the way he's worded it. I'm not attaching that to him. Okay. I've stayed in touch with Mike. Okay. So he's in touch with Tomlin. And Tomlin has acknowledged being in touch with Rodgers. Now, you can take being in touch with, multiply it by 1 billion, and you still come up with a 0 as far as a commitment to actually be here. Okay, so let's take staying in touch with, Aaron, how are your feelings today? How did the sand feel between your toes on the beach? No, really, what are you asking him? Are you signing or not? No, bye.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, what about, keeping physical shape on his own? Obviously, you don't get to be a 4-time MVP.
No. Every single player has their own offseason thing that they do on their own. Every single player does. Yeah, well, that's true. But, I mean, we have already seen with our own eyes, thanks to photography and videos of Aaron Rodgers throwing with DK Metcalf. Now, that was one time, but if you're actually going to play, guys just don't go 3-4 months without doing anything in terms of working out. They have to stay in shape. They just no, that doesn't happen. Everybody, and even Cam Hayward, when he was talking about OTA attendance last week, he was saying, like, I didn't go to OTAs at all last year, and I didn't need it. Some guys can, get better. Like, who says you can't be better or get better on your own than being here? Just every guy has their own thing. And so by this time, apparently Aaron Rodgers doesn't feel he needs OTAs. And he's won 4 MVPs. He might not need OTAs. So it might not matter to him. So, but everybody stays in shape if you're going to play.
If you're not at minicamp, you're not getting the playbook until the day you walk onto the campus in Latrobe.
That's true.
Something else, I probably should have thrown that out. Spice every once in a while comes along to admonish the whole Mason thing. It's like her equivalent of just like, hey, I'm still here and your Mason concepts are still just ridiculous. She says, is not a starter. And then she calls us y'all, which is not okay in Pittsburgh. Y'all need to accept that. We don't have a y'all here. We have a yins. I'm going to take one more today here from absolutely anybody at all. Did you start any along the way? I like this from Randy Wagner. This is a good way to close out today. This is Chris and TK. How much money is enough? This goes back to the TJ Watt thing, but it can really be applied to anybody. After expenses, how much money ends up in the pockets of NFL players? What expenses do they have? The most dangerous expenses that any NFL player encounters over the course of their career is their own temptations. They'll all tell you that. One of the things that good agents, responsible agents will do is they'll come in and they'll talk to people. It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, somewhere in between. If you have a lot of money, you're going to be tempted in some form or other to do some dumb things. Mm-hmm. And what they'll do, the good ones, again, is they will say, hey, listen, if you just take X amount of your salary, X percent of your salary each year and do this with it, you will love yourself from now until eternity. Your kids and your grandkids and everybody else will love you. You'll be able to make fun investments in your post-career. You'll be able to buy parts of sports teams if you want to stay in sports, whatever. You can do all these good things. If you have Lev's agent, meaning like the lowest of the low, okay, if you have someone like that, then they will let you AB your money to death.
Yeah. Okay.
And believe me, it's not just the guys with the super big bucks or the super mega contracts who lose control. The scariest situations that I've encountered and covered, and this includes players who were recently on the Steelers, are the ones who think they're a big deal because they signed their first contract, Randy, their rookie contract, and they think the money is just gonna flow forever. And they go and they blow it all. And then what happens? They become like Chris, and the lights get pulled out.
Dude, no
at their home. Because Chris can't pay his electric bills off of his measly DK Pittsburgh Sports salary. Look at him over there.
My ring light just completely went out on me. Like,
what's a ring light?
It's that big circle of light that just surrounds like your
barbershop thing.
Yeah, no, it's just you can buy them on like I bought mine off of Amazon, but it's hilarious. Like I'm trying to like unplug it, replug it in. I don't know if it got too hot. Just the light bulb itself burnt out, but it's gone.
Wow.
I'm at the
Chris in the dark. All right, we're ready. We're ready to end this particular program. If I can get the boss's attention for a second. There she is. You know what? I'm going to try this myself. She seems kind of occupied over there. We multitask like crazy. She is now going to push the button to end the show. Or she is not. Oh, she's just going to do it right here. Watch this. Hi, Mama. Yeah, she hates when I call her Mama in public. So Chris is still here in the dark. Let's take care of some business here. I have a functioning light, unlike you. We paid our bills here, pal.
I pay my bills. All my other lights are on.
Let's see what we have here. Eric came in with 5. Carrie's always good for 1. Captain Crunch with some good observations today, in addition to the 10 gifts. That's appreciated. Jack came in with 5. Steelers fan has been a member for 23 months. We have 1 month until we really call special attention to that one here. We appreciate all of the contributions, all of the people who are joining on a regular basis. She's tied up, so we're not going to get an update on the number today. But how'd we do, Chris? How was our show?
I thought it was good. Even
we
the
do this, by the way, when these are done, so you guys can actually hear it now. How did we do? How was the show?
I mean, even the Kennywood thing, like we didn't really go off the rails. So like it was.
Well, that's good because that's a great way to die at Kennywood.
Yeah, it's a great way to die. That was phenomenal, by the way.
Reiner says that Chris is hiding his sunburn. Dale Penny's making a gift here to help you with your light payment.
I'm convinced, by the way, that was not a, like, I got back when I was, oh, wow. Yeah, no, sorry. First off, I have no investment in it. And second off, no. But,
dark, like, Chris.
That's funny. So it's funny because like I went upstairs and immediately went to my wife. I was like, "Is my face red?" And she's like, "No, not really. Like sunburnt or anything." I'm like, "I swear, my camera, or it's like a mixture of my light and camera and what colors I'm wearing, whatever it is, will make me look red and everything else look red." It's funny. Like today, it was not happening. If anything, I looked like pale white today.
No, it's not Mama. Frank says that's creepy calling your wife Mama. My cousin said it's not Mama. It's the Serbian Mama. Because that's what our kids called her. That's what our kids still call her. She's Mama. So we all call her that because she basically has to be everybody's Mama in this family. Simple as that. Zach Hall did try to take us off the track there with asking about the Penguins' next head coach. I hope that it's Mitch Love. I really do. The idea of having a guy with 900 career penalty minutes in juniors and the minors as the head coach in Pittsburgh again, after the Penguins have been a not very physical team for way too long, I'm okay with that. I really am. You watch the Stanley Cup playoffs now, you watch the Florida Panthers in particular, and you'll see what still wins in hockey, you know? CJ points out that Chris's beard is red.
It is not.
It's not.
It is not.
It's just his lighting. I'm telling you, Chris has lighting issues.
I do have lighting issues.
You know?
I do.
All right, guys. Well, listen. Hey, tomorrow is mini camp. No. Tomorrow's second week of OTAs, which are no different as we established in the first week of OTAs. But we will have access. We will have videos. We will have things that we're playing for you here. It'll be a special show, a fun show. Actually, each of the next 3 are going to be that way. Really hope you're with us all week long for these. It's 4 p.m. Eastern time. Every day live. If you like what you see, feel free to to push the cause or to further the cause by going to dkps.net/join. That'll only help us grow the community, grow the brand, and everything else. All right. So I think I know which button to push without her. I think I can do this. Are we ready? All right, here goes. Ready? All right. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Okay, bye.